Straight run up.
Now he angles it somewhat. Barkadash!
Where do I start? It's been up and down.
I remember being a kid.
I can see that happening.
That's something, there's always something to do. Be unlaced.
Unlaced podcast. It's actually not bad.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. We're on the dance floor, the Unlaced podcast. I say it at the start of every episode, but what a year we're having. We've been very fortunate to have so many great guests on the show. The last episode with Jack Crisp, I absolutely love talking to Crispy. He's a very unique fella, but geez, he's a great footy player. Finished in the Copeland every single top 10 of the Copeland Trophy every single year he's been at Collingwood, which is remarkable. 8 years, and he's won the best and fairest last year and always finishes right up there in the pointy end. So that was a great podcast. He's a good man, loves his TikTok like me, and I just want to thank everyone as well for subscribing and commenting on the show, because it does mean a lot. You guys are the heartbeat of this podcast, and sharing it around is how we grow. So thank you so much for that. I tell you what, I'm excited again for today though, because I've got my good friend in here, Tyson, and we're supposed to have Mick Barlow, but he's a bit late.
Yeah, the Werribee pre-game's keeping him occupied.
Mate, well, thank you for coming in, mate. Good to see you.
Absolute pleasure, Jakey. Mate, you're everywhere.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, mate. And you over your illness. Big crook last week.
Yeah,
so.
fuck, mate. The man flu.
Yeah.
I thought I had every COVID symptom under the sun and tested negative every day.
Wow.
So, and then I put up a thing on my Instagram saying, has anyone got a deadly flu? And I had 65 responses saying, yeah, it's killing me.
It's going around, isn't it?
Yeah, going around, mate. But tell you what, you're doing a bit. We're going to get into your footy career, but I thought we got to get straight into the now. For those that don't know, Dom Tyson obviously came out of the AFL system a year or two ago now. Was it last year or 2 years ago?
My first year out fully.
This is first year out.
Yeah.
So he's gone all in, ladies and gentlemen, on Clutch & Co., which is a golf apparel brand. It is absolutely dynamite. We did a podcast with my good mate Tommy Sheridan on our other platform, Aces in Business, where we drove straight into it, mate. It's a fascinating business.
Yeah, we dissected it in Oz American with the great man Tommy Sheridan. So I'm actually working next to him day to day at the Commons in Cremorne there. So positives and negatives there. Enjoying it, enjoying the transition. You're always a little bit nervous of what you're going to jump into, but I luckily had the business set up on the back end of my footy career. Had finished uni. I'm still playing a bit of VFL footy, which I'm sure we'll touch on with Mick involved at VFL level as well. But really enjoying it. It's just trial and error. E-commerce. We do a bit of wholesale, but you really just don't know what you're doing. You need a good mentor, and then just give everything a crack. Assess it after 3 to 6 months critically. Do you continue with it? Do you find something else? So I like the problem-solving elements, and the product's good, which is the main thing.
Yeah,
so,
it's great.
Yeah,
mate.
and we've come in at a nice low price point.
Yeah.
So we're affordable, it's versatile, good performance elements in the fabrics.
Yep.
So we should help your golf game get better as well.
That's what we want. It's funny, right? Because when we spoke about this last time, we asked you, what's your sort of handicap? And you're like, well, it probably should be better for someone that's owning a golf apparel brand. But then you led into it's the apparel brand and the clothing is for the everyday golfer.
It is.
For the blokes like me and you, for example.
Definitely. We tried to create some products where if you could, I'm actually wearing the pants today at the Commons at work. So you can, it's versatile. Like if you're not playing golf too often, you can still buy some Clutch & Co. and get away with it in your day-to-day wardrobe apparel. So I need to get better though. I've been doing the podcast tours, and it's an awkward question. Like, mate, you should be a gun. What's your handicap? And I've got to come clean. It's nothing too impressive.
Ladies and gentlemen, get on to where can they get it? Is it online purely?
Yeah, purely online for our website at Clutch & Co.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we'll put it in the episode description. I think you've done us a generous one here, and you're providing a bit of a discount code, which from what we announced on Aces in Business, it never happens at Clutch & Co.
Yeah. You blokes have twisted my arm a couple of times, but we'll create a bit of value for your listeners, mate. They're loyal, and as you said, they're the heartbeat. So we'll give back, and we'll do a 20% discount code on the website. So at checkout, just type in Unlaced,
amazing,
capital letters, and that'll automatically redeem that discount code for you.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Unlaced discount code 20% on the Clutch & Co. golf apparel. It's great gear. Tommy Sheridan's rocking it, which I don't know if he should be the lead marketing sort of influencer for your campaigns with his golf swing and mannerisms, but mate, it looks good on anyone.
Yeah, well, Tommy, I mean, we could deep dive into that bloke for 40 minutes, but I've actually played golf with him on Monday. He's pretty good.
Is he actually?
Yeah. Like he's naturally coordinated. He's got the long levers. hits a pretty nice ball.
Does he really?
And he's playing a bit more, like he keeps it quiet, but he sneaks out there more often than you think.
Yeah, well, I spoke to him the other day. It was like Tuesday, and he's played 18 holes of golf. And I'm like, mate, for a busy bloke, you live like you're semi-retired.
Yeah, well, he does his work hours, I think, at midnight. That's when his brain kicks into work mode.
Yeah,
and then he doesn't sleep. So, his 9 to 5 is not a 9 to 5, but he probably does the full-time equivalent and some, just when everyone else is sleeping.
Oh, God, mate. Now, for those that don't know the Dommy Tyson story, it's pretty amazing because it's slightly different to Mick, who, when Mick arrives, we're going to give him a roasting, listeners, because he is late and he's a pivotal part of this show. But you guys had very contrasting ways that you came into the AFL system. Obviously, Mick kind of did it the hard way and through the rookie list. You were kind of the gourmet platter coming out of the 18-year-olds at the time. Was it 2011?
Yeah, 2011 draft,
2011 draft, so a priority pick. I think you were pick 3 overall, technically, to GWS, which was massive. And I kind of was very close to Tommy Bugg at this time, so I kind of saw a little bit of like the nervous nature of a priority pick going to a club that hadn't been around. But for you, what was that like? And obviously moving out of Melbourne too.
Yeah, well, separate to Mick, I was more traditional through the national draft as an 18-year-old. So it happens quick because you finish school in, November, early November, and you're drafted by late November. So that little 3-week window where you're unemployed, well, I guess you're just finishing school, finding your feet, but then you're off. So we got drafted up to the Giants. The positive was enormous amount of under 8 or 18-year-olds getting drafted with you in the same category as moving away from home. So it was a lot of fun socially up there. Great place to move to as an 18-year-old. If you are moving out of Melbourne, you're going to Sydney. So weather was great. We all got to live together and next to each other in this sort of retirement village.
That's unreal.
Which was just great fun when you're trying to, establish yourself with your footy, but also just feel comfortable socially and get amongst it. Looking back, it was a really good social time. And the club did a good job because we knew we were going to get beaten, but they sort of treated it more as a development team rather than a win-loss performance team, which meant the coaches, they kept the morale high. The reviews were always centered around, bringing your attributes as to why you drafted. Don't forget it. Though, obviously we had to learn fast and on the job. But, it was interesting looking back because Kevin Sheedy was the coach. Obviously, history in the game there is legend. So he was obviously massive on most of the time. If you were an 18-year-old, you'd come and do your apprenticeship in the VFL was a season and a half before you potentially debut. We got the luxury of getting some games into us probably prematurely as 18-year-olds and learning in the AFL. So a lot of those guys that we were drafted with, they're sort of nudging up to game 200 now, which is a huge
Which is crazy for like 28-year-olds and stuff, isn't it? Yeah,
huge effort. A lot of them are at other clubs, just because it was so dense for 18-year-olds. I think, by the time everyone hit their prime, just 40 wasn't going to fit into 22. So a lot of guys made the move. I was one of them early as a midfielder, which was, pretty... we had a lot of mids up there at the time.
Stacked, wasn't it?
Stacked.
Yeah.
So, and Buggy did well. Like Buggy forged out. He got his 7 or 8 years in, and he did well. He was one of the ones that was drafted as a 17-year-old, so he was even earlier.
That's right.
Yeah,
I remember he was playing school footy and he was already there.
Yeah, so they had access to him. But great journey. Got back to Melbourne when I was 20. So entering my 3rd year, I was back at the Demons.
So just to talk through quickly GWS, because the Demons obviously spent most of your career there, but did you kind of realise, even though you obviously taken some of those losses, like how good that team could be? Because obviously it's quite sort of dismantled a bit. A lot of boys have left to get more opportunity or play back home and stuff like that. Did you realise how good these boys were at the time and what it would potentially create if they stuck together? Yeah,
it's a great call because we did come in a lot of high draft picks. So you just knew based off the history of what an early draft pick can produce. You're sort of thinking, well, we've got 20 of them. Other teams have 1 or 2, and they're pretty good players. So by their 3rd, 4th, 5th year, so we thought the time would come where we'd be. That was the chat too. Like, wait till you guys develop, keep learning, keep doing your weights, keep putting going hard with your training, and it will come. Just stay patient. So. Even by that 2nd year, like Jeremy Cameron kicked 60 or 70 goals.
He was like a Coleman. Did he win the Coleman?
He was all Australian. He would have been top 3 or 4 in the Coleman as a 19-year-old. Toby Green had a great first year. So there were signs like Dylan Shield, Adam Treloar.
Yeah,
they exploded out of the blocks. you could see it definitely. And then even the guys that they recruited, like Callum Ward, Tom Scully, Phil Davis, they were only 21, 22.
They're still
so
young.
You could do the maths going, well, when those 18-year-olds hit 23, they're only going to be 26, 27. So you could see that it all probably around that time was their grand final appearance, which was 2018.
Yeah, that's right.
So that was probably
the Tigers.
Yeah, so that was probably the time where they're all 23 in their sweet spots for trying to hit their primes, and that it showed. I mean, they could have come, they got smoked on the day, but they were pretty close.
Yeah, well, bloody oath.
Top two.
I know, absolutely. Now going to the Demons, like what drove that change for you? Was that you wanting to play more, or was it just like you wanted to come home?
It was more opportunistic and timing. I always saw myself getting back to Melbourne to play some footy. I didn't think it'd be that early, but I'd actually signed a 2-year contract to stay up at the Giants. Right. I did a knee reconstruction in my second year, so I hadn't played much footy. That was a PCL, MCL, so a 6-monther, not quite the full one, but enough where I only got back for the last handful of games, 2 or 3, signed on, thought, I'll go hard with the next 2 years up at the Giants. And then, Melbourne came knocking. I was in Hawaii. Paul Roos called me and just said there might be an opportunity if you want to sit down with the list management team, and it could happen if you give it the green light. So, it happened pretty quickly.
You won't believe who's just messaged me saying, come down, the nerve of Mick Barlow. Yeah. I'm telling him, come up, mate.
He's at reception, is he? We're halfway through, mate. Get moving.
No, but just on that, the Melbourne Footy Club at the time, because obviously it's a bit of a shame for your ability, and we'll talk about some of your achievements in the AFL. You probably copped the back of two sides that were going through some real significant, development processes to get some wins on the board. What was Melbourne's sort of record at the time? Were you walking into the sort of storm that was? Or
they'd only won 2 or 3 games the year before.
Right. Okay.
Similar position. Giants actually didn't have a great second year, so it was probably pretty similar position. And then I think the first year was at Melbourne, we only won 4 games in 2014.
Right.
So it was pretty rapid after that. Like by 2018. We'd played in the prelim.
Yeah.
So, you could see it coming together, but it was definitely starting pretty much rock bottom to work your way up.
Yeah, definitely. And then the Demon, that experience, how was that for you? Because you obviously individually had a really great career, but collectively it was a pretty tough time for the club, which they've obviously come out of that now.
Yeah, had a couple of decent years individually. 2016, we just missed the finals, and I had a decent year, and I sort of thought we're away here.
Yeah.
And then by the time I thought, we're in a really good spot to challenge, we just had so many young guns like Petraka, Clayton Oliver, Jack Viney, Harmsy. They were coming through as midfielders, and I'd sort of just been edged out by then as well. So those boys were just humming. So, look who's arrived, mate.
There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Nice of you to join us.
Right.
Here we go. This, mate, we purposely started a bit earlier just to put a bit of limelight on you.
And the booking must run out soon.
How are you, mate? Good to see you.
Hey, mate, good to see you, sir.
Let me get
Ladies and gentlemen, Mick Barlow is here, the Werribee Football Club president. And the living legend.
legally out there as well.
Is it?
I'm in a similar spot.
Oh, mate. How are you going, mate?
Good, mate. Yeah. What's going on? Testing. 1, 2, 3. Perfect.
Here he is. He's ready to go.
No, going well. All's well in my world. Sorry, a bit late.
Go for it, mate.
Mate, no, pleasure for coming on, mate.
But we're here.
Werribee pre-game kept you going.
Fridays is my day of leisure for coach. The prep is done.
Yeah.
Isn't it? The prep's done. We've broken some hearts. We've made some dreams come true. But it's all about preparation to play tomorrow and all of that. Put the stuff on the whiteboard. Put the magnets up, and away we go.
Are you enjoying that side of the game?
Yeah, I do. I say tongue in cheek that, my players would. They tend to actually see all the content I put out, so I've got to be careful in some of the stuff I do say.
You're pretty switched on. You like that?
It is a really hard part of. I do find probably the last training session the hardest part of it in the season, when you have to, break news to players that they're not playing or whatever it may be, because a lot of these guys, not all of them, not a lot of them, all of them want to test themselves against the best level they can. So at the moment it's VFL, and only 23 can play per week out of what is it? We've got about 45 to 50 on our list.
Wow.
So it's,
Mate, that's a lot.
yeah.
You know what you do if you're at the AFL Line Club, which I'm at North VFL. You just go, mate. We got the boys dropping back.
Yeah. They can't say anything.
Yeah, your form's good. You're just getting squeezed out.
Yeah, you're getting squeezed out, which is
it's an easier one.
They do have a bit of an easier out in the aligned system, but however way you go about it, isn't it? It's even in AFL land, having lived it, and Dom's lived it as well, that you do have an empathy for it, because I've been in a situation where coaches have come to me and said, you're out, or this is the reason. And similar, Dom, I think, would be in a similar situation. So often, you don't agree with the coach. So I have the empathy with my players in terms of, the feedback you're giving them isn't desirable, and you understand that for the next little period, they're going to be a little bit aggrieved with you.
Yeah, I can
you
imagine.
do want just clear comms, don't you?
Yeah.
So I reckon two things. It's more, you're either going to get dropped because you're out of form.
Yeah.
They send you back to work on a handful of things, or someone is coming back that's just they prefer to play ahead of you.
Yeah,
so you
right.
can almost go, hey mate, you're out of the team this week. Jack Viney's back from injury. You're not too bad out of form. You just squeezed out. Or hey mate, your ground balls are shit house. Kicking shit house. Yeah. And you're going back to work on 5 things.
Yeah.
So,
The one I've struggled with a bit, and again, my last couple of years with the Gold Coast, my last year of footy was at the Gold Coast, and I felt like I was going pretty well and should have been playing. And the thing that kept coming to me was balance of the side.
Yeah.
So you know
that's a tough one.
Yeah,
to
you know
take.
that a player. But again,
Does that mean age, or does that mean
that means your age, the age demographic of the side is going to go up 2 to 3 years if you play.
And the coaches love that stat when you lose. They roll out the average age per round of the team. Oh, well, we were the second youngest team fielded on the weekend, mate. So there's development there, don't worry.
Yeah, it's a good...
I saw one on the weekend. Freo played at Geelong. And I was a bit worried for Freo on Friday last week because, I'm a staunch Fremantle supporter.
Yeah.
And they're going really well. But last week they played Geelong, and the article was put together by their social media team saying the facts about the two sides. And it was all about the age, demographic and experience. And straight away I thought that was alarm bells. I didn't like it.
So internally produced from the Freo team.
Internally produced, and I felt like it was an internally produced excuse already. That,
Right.
We're young, they're mature, they're experienced, we're going to Geelong. And they end up winning anyway.
Yeah, I tell you what, they're humming Freo a little bit, aren't they? You must be watching them closely. You must be happy.
Yeah, bloody oath, yeah. So I got over my 2 to 3 years of bitterness against them.
I was going to...
Yep.
Yeah, did you go through that as well at all?
I could see it coming. So, and by the end, mate, I was so drained from injuries.
Yeah.
I was sort of happy to just launch into something else. And I'm back enjoying the footy.
Yeah.
Because all the meetings at VFL level, obviously everyone has a 9 to 5 job, a lot of trade.
It's different, mate.
You take out all the garbage. You just get to play, throw weights around for 15, 20 minutes, meetings at 10 minutes. You get the real skeleton schedule, which is great. You just get the pure enjoyment back. I've been enjoying it.
Oh, that's good, mate. Yeah, so mate, talking to Freo, did you expect that from them this year?
I did, yeah. Oh, look, not to probably be 6-1, are they? 6-1? Yeah, so they're 6-1. I tipped them to make the finals. Yeah. And I still think...
Without Fife, he's due back soon too.
Well, the most impressive part of what they're doing is it's not personnel-based. So,
they're
so often
big outs.
Clubs are defined by, your best 10 players.
Yeah.
And right now they've got 3 of their most important players out. Fife, Sean Darcy should come back this week. And Matt Taberner didn't play last week. So, their system and their belief in what they're doing is palpable. What I do really... And there's absolutely something in this. You can see that they're enjoying each other's successes. Yeah. So you watch Freo play at the moment, and there was a bit of media around it this week, but I do follow them closely, so I've seen it for some time. They love it. Like player X kicks a goal, don't worry, everyone's over there. Player Y gets a smother, they're all over there. It's the stuff that... Every club you would have been at, every club I've been at, it's like we've got to do this. We want to be like that.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just that energy isn't there. The energy to
it's forced or organic, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
forced or organic. And
you
at
can
the
see
moment,
it. Yeah.
Organic with Freo.
Yeah.
Mate, that's all. Touching on your boys, this is a bit of a. I mean, historically, probably the answer's no. But could Melbourne go undefeated? Like, are they that good that they're in contention to really? They just be that tough to beat.
Yeah. Well, they just set up so well behind the ball defensively. So teams just can't score against them, and then they'll grind out a win. So they might lose 1 or 2 where a team just pinches an offensive game on them, where they just for whatever reason it's low scoring and they kick a couple late and that's the end score. But they're gonna be very competitive every game. Obviously, whatever they are, undefeated now. So it's. I mean, I can't sit here and say, I reckon this team could beat them.
But
here's one. That last week, Hawthorn and Sam Mitchell, who's getting lauded for what he's doing. But I think clubs that come up to play Melbourne at the moment, there is a bit of... that for so long it's been clubs have played Melbourne, or clubs have played the best sides and said, right, we've just got to play our game and hope our game gets to a level. Whereas Hawthorn last week adjusted their normal structure and their normal approach. They went wing on wing, or they tagged Ed Langdon on the wing, so took out him. So they've gone in and said, okay, what's 2 or 3 things we can do differently to actually just beat Hawthorn, as Hawthorn to beat Melbourne, rather than, it's not something they're going to do every week, but it's like this is specific to play Melbourne, and I think Melbourne will get different things thrown at them every week compared to other clubs that it's pretty much own system versus own system, whereas clubs are going to start to pinpoint some stuff with Melbourne that they see as an advantage.
Yeah, you're right, because I think a lot of the opposition analysis would be, well, what do we know about Melbourne? Let's not get beaten by what we know.
Yeah,
so we know, Langdon's an important part of the offensive chain. Their wings will push back hard defensively to free up Lever, free up May. May will sit proactively in front 30 metres to be able to influence the next contest. So can we use short hit-ups that avoids his positioning? So there's things that you know, because everyone's watching the best team in the comp, looking to match up against them, and then also steal a few things that they're doing well. So, there's enough vision now of what they've been doing really well for a season and a half plus that, you're getting an awareness of their game style fully.
So the way you were describing that, Mick, you're almost explaining as if like a footy team may break their mould just to try and do something different against Melbourne, because it's pretty hard to go head-to-head with them the way they would be playing.
And I'm showing my age here and, by bringing up an example. I reckon it was in 2000, but I was young at this stage. I was 13, so I must have already known I was going to be a coach. When I was monitoring this game where the Western Bulldogs put the flood on Essendon. Essendon hadn't lost a game for the year, round 21.
Right.
20.
It was at Etihad, wasn't it?
For some reason, I reckon I was there. I've got this flashback of... And I was from the country, so I didn't go to a huge amount of AFL games growing up, but the Bulldogs, Terry Wallace put the flood on.
Yeah.
And Essendon... I think they still nearly won. Like Essendon still got into a position where they nearly won, but it was the old school 18 players in the back 50 pretty much. And then when we get the ball, we'll methodically try and chip and charge through, and they end up getting a result. So right back, I think, to your question to Dom about will they go undefeated. History suggests, especially if you're the hunted, especially if all these different, there's too many variables that will get thrown up, throw COVID in there as well, that there's going to be a week where a side gets a hold of them. Melbourne may be down, and Melbourne may be without some personnel. So
it's bloody hard to go undefeated.
Mate, it's an achievement in any sport. Isn't it?
Look, even if just say there's a week where Gorney and Oliver are sore, that's 2 pretty important players. So if they miss a week, it changes the look of the makeup of the side. So you never know.
Very good point. Now, Mick, mate, you had one hell of a career. We spoke about just before you jumped in that you and Dommy. Similar, actually, time periods in the AFL. You guys would have played even games, but very different ways of coming into the AFL system. Obviously, Dommy was like the gourmet platter priority pick, where you had a couple of stellar years in the VFL, and they couldn't ignore you anymore, and you got through on the rookie draft into Freo. What was that sort of period like for you? Can you give us a bit of background on your story of how you got into the system and the first few years?
Well, it was a long road. Yeah, it was a long road to get in, but I suppose. It all came on me pretty quickly. My way in, when I was 19, I was playing country footy in Shepparton for Shep United, and I was going pretty well, but I was never, not for 1 second had I entertained being an AFL footballer. Realistically, obviously, like most, you sit there and think, oh, how good would that be? And, it'd be nice to get an opportunity, but I was playing footy at Shep United, and the footy manager, Craig Blizzard at the time, had some connections in the AFL. He sent a few recruiters down to watch me, or up to watch me in Shepparton, and a few watched and kind of said, yeah, thanks but no thanks. And St Kilda was one that I think kept coming back and watching and kind of just couldn't figure it out.
Did you do a pre-season with them at some point as well?
That's where it emerged from. So
when they were flying too, I think. Would have been when they were making grand finals.
Yeah,
I reckon you did it.
Well, I think it was going into, I think they'd had a poor year. and I did the pre-season.
Okay.
Sparked the boys up a bit.
As you do, Mickey.
For 6 to 8 weeks, I went in Rui and Goddard and
Lenny
Joey up
Hayes
again,
and
boys.
Del
Yeah,
Santo. They could smell him coming, Mickey, so they
big Michael Gardner.
pulled the figure out.
But anyway, they got me down off the back of a pretty good couple of years at country footy. And right then, and this was, I think this moulded my football career and moulded me as a person today because got given this opportunity pretty much like from nowhere. So I come and train, and it was a bit like, you train and you might get on a list here. And it's probably like winning the lotto. It's like, hang on a sec. Lotto, I think the rookie wage at that stage was $32,000 a year. So maybe not like winning. But compared to
28th place.
but compared to winning, but compared to being a uni student and boiling hot water and putting chicken stock through, it was going to be an upgrade. Yeah. So anyway, I went to St Kilda, did the pre-season, and I missed out. And from there, that was the period of time where I actually competed and trained really well and felt like I was on par with some of what was going on. So that period highlighted hard work. It highlighted my capacity. It highlighted my inner desire to get in.
Bit of belief.
Yeah, a bit of belief. Whereas 6 weeks earlier when I started, I genuinely say this, that I went there not to embarrass myself and not to be a guy that rocked up and years down the track, Nick Rewalt's talking on Fox Footy saying, this guy came to training once. And he was tripping over. And
we can't remember his name. But
couldn't tie up his shoelace.
So was it that daunting that to come off? Because it was a pretty big dressing room, like you mentioned, all those players. Bloody hell.
Yeah, it was. Luckily, you go in for the first 2 weeks with the younger players, and you kind of and a couple of senior boys roll through in the.
So you can mould it.
Yeah, you know, and you are in awe. Like I don't know, Dom went to GWS, so that would have been a unique existence because you go in with a big chunk of guys your age and then a few.
Yeah, we spoke about that, didn't we?
Yeah.
But yeah, the St Kilda experience was. It's pretty. Yeah, you're literally like a little kid in a candy store and. Just trying not to embarrass yourself. And yeah, by the end of it, went pretty well. They said thanks, but no thanks. And from there, I went and played VFL. And even that was a challenge because, yeah, I did the pre-season. But then you go to a VFL club and, again, you're fighting against guys that are doing similar things and come through pathways and to even get a game. And then throw into it, we were aligned with North Melbourne at the time. So then North Melbourne players come, a week before the season and say, yep, well, 10 of them are playing.
Yeah.
So there was all of that pathway into the AFL there was enough kind of barriers and roadblocks to get in the way, but yeah, at the end of the day, it's just consistent form and banging your head, or banging the work in, and then you get a chance.
Mate, so what was that like? What was the first few years like at Freo? Because you didn't obviously go in, you obviously went in a mature age player in a sense, but you walked into a pretty elite environment. Like they had some pretty good years early when you were there.
Yeah, so they.
Weren't drafted same year as Tommy Sheridan, were you?
I wasn't. No, Tommy came 2 years after me. Okay.
He did, right? For some reason, I thought you guys went the same year too.
Nah.
So how old were you when you did get picked
21.
Yeah,
21. Oh, so you weren't that old.
No,
really.
So 21. Yeah, they do pay. I got drafted the same year as James Podsiadly.
Right.
And he got drafted at 29 years to Geelong. And I played with him at Werribee. And I was like, well, he's old.
So you got bundled in with him as the mature age recruits.
He grinded a great few years.
He had 5 or 6 years. So shout out to Pods, who one of the greatest state league players ever to lace them up, like hundreds of goals. And but back to your point about rocking up to Freo, it's interesting because you grind to get there, and then the realities are when you get picked up in a rookie list, you grind to get there, and then you're the last bloke on the list anyway. So. That for mine, I suppose the way you got there, you need to replicate and get to work on it, and actually getting put in an elite environment. I say this to my players at VFL level at the moment that the hardest existence for mine is being a state league footballer.
Yeah. Because
you are mixing your 9 to 5 or your uni or your part-time job and uni and Centrelink and financially you're not very secure. You're putting in heaps of work. You have to do everything after hours, and then you're expected to compete against the AFL players that aren't playing. So for mine, it was when I did get to Freo, I wasn't fully aware of this at the time, but when I got there, it was actually an easier environment for me because you could put all your
eggs in my basket.
Yeah, effort and energy into being a full-time athlete, and get remunerated for it, which does help. So.
absolutely. Now, I've heard Tommy talk a bit about Ross Lyon, and he gives some great Ross Lyon stories. But you obviously probably played so much footy under him. Had really, I think 3 best ons in the Western Derby as well. Like, so
it's a derby.
Derby.
It's not Melbourne City.
Yeah, sorry, the Derby. That is true. Actually, they do say it like that. I never even processed that, mate. But what was it like working with Ross? Because you had a pretty big role under him. I felt at times.
At the time, it was, if I could go back to a few of those days and just to enjoy it for what it was and the personality he is, it would be great.
Yeah.
But when you're in the mixer of it, it's daunting.
Yeah.
But I'll start with saying he's incredibly connected to his players and loves. There was a quote he said to me one day around. He treats his players as much as he can like his own children because he knows the effort and the energy his own players put into what he's asking them to do. So that's something that really resonated with me. One day when I sat down behind closed doors with him and had a heart to heart pretty much. So he was brilliant with heart to hearts, and his door, the old analogy, your door's always open. Rung true, it was always open, and he'd always be there for a chat. So there's some the serious side to Ross, but some of the stuff that went on and the meetings you had were just, you'd actually just walk out and be like, wow. So Tommy, I think, has told a couple of stories probably about, players. It was a player who, I can't recall who the player was. I get a bit lost in translation in terms of who some of these stories are about. But
okay, there's so many.
Yeah, there was a story one day where a player, I think, had made his debut. It was very early into his career. And, it's a pretty exciting time in your career. You've just played at first game and you try your hardest. And the player, Ross was he had an eye for the vision, and he was pretty cut and dry on what was a good effort and what was a half-hearted effort. So the player had just come into the system and he was just finding his way. But the review came and some vision popped up, and we were watching a passage of play, and Ross just goes, rewind it. And then they rewind it and go back to a bit of play and plays it through, and he goes, rewind it again. So watch it through, and he gets the player, he goes, okay, you're going right. You've just made your way into the side. Very good. Well done. But, that effort, not sure. And at this stage, it wasn't too bad. Everyone in the room's like, oh, that's not too bad. We can move on. How much weight you put on? He said to the player. The player goes, 8 or 9 kilos since 6 months. He's like, mate.
Oh, no.
It's like, beautiful. 8 or 9 kilos. Yeah. You been doing your weights? He's like, yeah, doing my weights, the player. Yes. And Ross gets down and literally goes, you been doing your deadlifts?
Oh, no.
And the player's like, yeah, been doing my deadlifts. And then he goes, you been eating your tuna? And again, the player's like, yep, I've been eating my tuna. And right now, everyone in the room's like,
something's coming.
This ain't going to end well for this player.
Oh, no.
And he goes, do all that, mate. That's great. But then when the ball's there, you got to put your body on the line. You jump out of the way.
It's brutal.
Oh, no. And Ross does a little, he used to have this thing with his hands.
Yeah.
And he goes, jump out. And now, I am a bit blurred as to who the player was, because I've got 2 schools of thought that it was a player that's still playing and going very well, or whether it was a player that is no longer playing for Freo, but he's absolutely going very well in another sporting realm at the moment. So either way, the players they're going okay.
Yeah, so but when you're in that situation, you see this stuff coming, like, are you guys got so much respect for Ross that you just, this is normal, you're not laughing? Or are you guys like actually breaking character here?
You can't laugh. Yeah, you laugh.
So you're fucked. You got to sit there in silence and watch this go on.
And then you go for a coffee, and then you're like, what about that?
Yeah, that's it. Tommy Sheridan told me this one because, funnily enough, when we did our first Aces in Business podcast, Joe Botson actually plugged Tommy. He goes, mate, I need to hear some Ross Lyon stories, because he goes, I've heard them and I love them. And Tommy told this one about Ross just trying to, like, pretty much set the tone of almost like what you said, everyone's like my children. I treat everyone the same. He goes, I don't give a fuck if you're the best player in the team like Matthew Pavlich or if you're bloody Hayden Sloyd. and Tommy goes, he walks out of the meeting and goes, a bit stiff there, Sloyd. You're
45th on the list.
Just make it bang.
Yeah. And on that, there's probably a few players that you would ask, like any coach, I think, you'd ask a lot of some players that haven't had the best experiences under Ross. What do you think of Ross? And some expletives may come out. Not so complimentary words. But another one I've got is about Tom, and I'm not sure if he's shared.
Oh, this is good because Tommy sent me a bit of mail on you two, and I'm conscious. Hopefully, we have a bit of time here because I do want to bring it up. But I really do. No, I'm good for time. It's more if we get a knock. But anywho, It's more if pretty much I want you guys to give a bit of dirt on Tommy because he sold you out here, Mickey, especially you. So we got to throw a punch back at Tommy Sheridan before I give the mail on him.
So Tommy, when you're playing footy, it's and professional sport, it's hard to socialise because you, especially playing for Freo, you fly into Melbourne, you play so often. Sunday game, you fly back. Saturday game, you might hang around and socialise a bit, but socialising and going out and having a few beers, it's few and far between. But the mid-season buys come around and you're pretty excited. You're pretty excited. You've got probably 10 to 12 to 14 days between games. So you're pumped. And this one buy came out, and every buy for Freo, we'd have a meeting, heading into the buy or the 3 or 4 day break, and be like, oh, what's your standard behaviours here? What's acceptable? Here's your program. We need to get this done.
How many nights are you drinking?
It's like, Tommy you go around for 3 or 4 minutes and Tommy, this is good. I'm doing my program. Yeah. Tommy's booked out a house for 3 days down the coast. But it always came back, okay, boys, one night, we'll give you one night. Yeah. Okay, one night. And then you'd speak for 15 minutes about what categorises, that one night. Is it, and Ross pretty much gets up and goes, one night, just let it fly, boys. Let it fly. And then the other nights, just make sure you're nice and civil. And Ross, again, great coaching, great man management, would come in on a Monday morning after the bye, and he wouldn't kind of go on ahead. He wouldn't be like, you've done this, and this, or I've seen this, and this. He'd go up, he'd be first meeting, the first question is pretty pointed about, all right, what happened in last week's game? What did we review? And everyone's like on edge, and so Ross walks in. Tommy, Carlton last week, what did we review? Tom's like, we just talked about. And Ross goes, hey, Tommy, have another go, mate. He goes, I'll just stop you there. Bit croaky, big weekend. And then from there, Ross went on a headhunt.
Oh, no.
He goes, no, actually, from memory, so we got through that meeting, but that lingered with Ross. I think we came in for another meeting later in the day, and there'd been some murmurings that people had been taking the piss, pardon the pun, on the piss.
And it always gets back to the coaches, doesn't it? Like they somehow find out.
So we walk back in, and he goes, righto, I've heard this. I know for a fact that you had 3 nights on the piss. So Tom had to stand up, and I won't get this completely correct, but it'll be 80% there. Tom had to go stand over in the corner. All right, Tom's had 3 nights on the piss. How many other people have had more than 1 night on the piss? Go stand over there. Be honest, because this is your one chance. So, like a good chunk of players go stand over with Tom. Hand in the air, over we go. And Tom's had the 3 nights on the piss, and we got a bit of a berating. And pretty much everyone to a man was like, right, we're not going to do anything about this, but we're on notice. We say 1, you go 3, walk out, and then we walk out for lunch or whatever that day. Lucky you didn't know about the other 2 nights.
He's an idiot. He's an absolute idiot.
And he's got tonsillitis.
Sleep all
the croaky voice lost me there. Well, folks, we've got to have to wrap this up. But before we do, I do want to just throw this last question to you guys. I want to go minor premiers, and Brownlow. Yep. And I know Mickey Barlow, you've had a few pre-season predictions already. But what are your guys' gut feel for that?
Melbourne. For Premier, minor Premier.
You've gone double the back to back, right?
Yeah, they'll get the home finals at the MCG. Crowd will come out. They're starving for it after missing out in Perth last year, so they'll get them home. And it's probably Patrick Cripps.
Paddy Cripps.
I think he's had 3 voters kicking goals, playing midfield, getting 30 plus, kicking 3. So
Absolutely.
umpires will see that pretty juicy on the stat sheet after the game.
I'll go with Brisbane for the Premier. I think Melbourne will be the minor Premier. I think Brisbane are the side that can get Melbourne this year.
Right.
Yeah, they've got a group that's been around the mark for a couple of years now that in a desire and bond that they would be building. Lachie Neale to win the Brownlow.
Yep,
That's a good call. Yep.
Yeah, so going very well. And
you can pretty much pencil those 2 in for the grand final, I reckon. 'Cause
Yeah.
Brisbane will get the home prelim,
the
home first final.
But they've been
They're
there the last couple
disappointing
of
in the
years.
finals, though, the last few years, haven't they?
Yeah, they have, but I mean, that's just experience, isn't it? It's part of the journey. So you hope that they've learnt from it, and they'll win by 50 points up in a prelim and come in with full of confidence, and then they might pinch it on the day. Who knows?
Absolutely.
Was that the only question? Premier?
Yeah, Premier, minor Premier,
Yeah.
Brownlow. Yeah,
Brownlow.
nailed it. Or go Coleman as well. What do you reckon? That's a tough one, I reckon.
Yeah, it's wide open, isn't it?
Yeah. Mate, there's a few left fielders that are really booming in that as well.
Charlie Curnow is one that, because he's kind of only still finding his way back to play footy. He's kicked a couple of bags of, 1 bag of 5 and
Yeah.
going pretty well. So I'll throw him in as a bit of an out wider.
I'll go Jezza Cameron.
Cameron.
He's bought the farm out near Geelong. He
He's-
loves
he's
his
happy.
farm.
He's
got
fishing,
the fire
mate.
pit there, fishing. So he just looks like he's in a great sweet spot to kick bags of goals.
Absolutely. Well, listeners, I reckon we're going to get Mickey Barlow and Tommy Tyson back on for maybe a bit later in the season. We'll dissect the season that be a bit more because I reckon that'll be fun.
Yeah,
I love hearing you talk about footy and
Do the
Tommy
back
knows it
half.
inside out. Yeah, we'll do the back half.
Yeah.
We might even get Tommy Sheridan on if we can get a word in, but we'll have a think about
Is he
it.
hungover today? What's he doing?
Yeah, he's a little bit hung, but he's got a potty. He goes, mate, I've got to get off the phone. I've got to call 3 people in 20 minutes. I said, all right, Tommy, mate, you called me, you idiot. But anyway, ladies and gents, thank you again for listening in. Mickey Barlow, Tommy Tyson. Love
Great
you, boys.
stuff.
Appreciate it.
Good on you, Jakey. Thanks, mate.